Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Nate, in prison, here to bring you a new series simply called 5-Minute Sitcoms. In this video and others of the series, I'll simply just be raving about sitcoms that I consider to be very overlooked in 5 minutes or less. Why 5 minutes? Because it's my channel, I can do what I want, stupid bitch. Anyway, for the first video of this series, I wanted to talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the greatest cop show of all time. I don't know if there has been a more consistent and funny show than B99. The show ran for 8 seasons, not one of them is bad. This is especially impressive when you compare it to other sitcoms like The Office, That 70s Show, and Big Bang Theory. Shows that fell apart during later seasons or were never really that funny at all but went on to have 12 seasons. The show also has some of the best characters I've ever seen. I honestly feel like in every sitcom I watch, there's one character that I just don't like. In Fresh Prince, wasn't a huge fan of Hillary. The Office, I didn't really like Meredith or Phyllis. You know, there's always some character that just doesn't float my boat. But in this, there's just no character that I don't like. They're all so different, but they work together so well that they mix and match every character to give them a storyline that is unique. Like when Hitchcock, Scully, and Rosa spend a day sitting, or when Jake and Kevin have to spend months in a safe house together. There's also some solid growth with the characters that you sometimes don't see in other sitcoms, and especially cop shows that I've seen personally. But what's best about this is that even though they grow, the characters fundamentally stay the same as they started, as a lot of times characters' personalities change to fit the narrative, or when a character leaves, there's just kind of like a hole to fill. For example, look at The Office after Michael left. Everyone became a little more cartoonish, and then there was the thing with Jim and Pam, which is just whatever. The show is also extremely funny.
Gina made me call people and tell them she was dead to see how they'd react.
Is she crying? Is she crying?
A little.
You should be wailing, you stone cold bitch. Now call my other grandma.
The show keeps the comedy fresh and consistent because each character has their own comedic value, like Rose's intensity.
Do you remember Rose's reaction last time the printer jammed? I'll pay for that.
Holt's lack of emotion.
Attention, squad. Today is the most important day in the history of this precinct. For today is Halloween. I thought we were going to say it together.
I never agreed to that.
All right.
And Gina's narcissism.
My mother cried the day I was born because she knew she would never be better than me.
The comedy shouldn't be a real shock to people though, being that Michael Schur is the co-creator and creator of The Good Place, The Office, and Parks and Rec. And the other creator, Dan Gore, was a writer for Conan, Trevor Noah, and Parks and Rec. That's like a Hall of Fame roster of comedy shows. Put their minds into one show. It's crazy. But what I think truly sets the show apart are the storylines and certain episode premises. Each season has some arc during it that adds nicely to the continuity of the show. And these aren't solely comedic storylines like in season 8, the season after 2020. It largely focuses on police reform and how the trust between citizens and police needs to be healed. In one pretty impactful episode prior to that season, Terry is racially profiled by a cop and has a rather interesting back and forth with Captain Holt on how to proceed. But then there's the typical cop stories like taking down a crooked cop, invading the mob, and trying to take down the mafia boss. The show does all this with decent intensity with a mix of comedy. But what I think I appreciate most about some of these episodes is the fact that the show wasn't made as pro-cop propaganda. Now that's not to say the show bashes cops, but it also doesn't put them on a pedestal like a lot of cop shows do nowadays. This show examines issues within the police like corruption, racism, and incompetence, but it also shows cops that are good, selfless, and just. It's a nice mix that makes it feel like a simple, real comedy cop show. Honestly, B99 is one of the most complete sitcoms I've ever seen. Across the 153 episodes, there isn't one that I can say is truly bad. This show takes an oversaturated genre of cop shows and gives us a fresh comedic take. This is honestly one of my favorite sitcoms and one of the best sitcoms ever, and it doesn't get discussed nearly enough. Well, there you go. A short, nice review of B99. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit me up with any sitcoms that you also think are underrated and need a review. Next one will be kind of a throwback. And if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one.